Hello and welcome. It is such a pleasure for me today to introduce a great artist, Manjushree Roy, all the way from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Manjushree started painting seriously in 2013 after decades of working in the corporate world. Since then, she has won numerous awards and accolades locally and is now stepping into bigger shows and venue. She was born in India but has lived most of her adult life in the US, and her art captures this common thread of human emotions that she finds everywhere. What a pleasure, Manjushri, to have you. Welcome to Lokvani.
It is an honor to be here. It is an honor to be part of Indie Art 2020, and I'm just so glad to be here. It's lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. And that's a very important part of what you are now, which is an ambassador for indie art, which is a competition that Ekal Vidyalaya is hosting in order to bring awareness to their work to rural India and to bring digital literacy to rural India. So, what a pleasure, Manjushri, to see two very important aspects of you. One is your art, and the other is your compassion, care for the world. So let's begin perhaps with your artistic life. Could you tell me a little bit about your artistic journey? Because it says on your website that you were not formally trained. So how did this happen and how did you emerge into this beautiful, tremendously talented artist?
Um, Thank you for asking this question because, yes, I'm not trained in the arts. I've always worked in the science and business world, part of the corporate world, as you mentioned. And there have been few incidents in my life, and it's almost like universe or God or life. They're trying to whisper something to me. Initially, they were trying to whisper. Then I did not listen. Then they started tapping on my door. Then I didn't listen, and then they really started knocking and asked me to take things seriously. So one incident was I was in Cincinnati and I was working for a company there, and I had a surgery. I had a surgery in my left elbow, and I was homebound for 6 weeks. And not even homebound because since I was working, I was actually in Marriott Residence Inn. So it's like a very small space. I was by myself, and how much TV can you watch? And I couldn't do much. But one day they were showing on QVC, they were selling this Donna Dewberry video VHS tapes for one stroke painting. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with that. It's a folk art toll painting,
Yeah.
where like you in a single brush stroke you do shading, blending, highlighting, and all that. It's very basic, very
Yeah.
simple. It's very quick. Within like 30 minutes you can like make a really big painting, and it's like you do it on glass and plastic, cloth, everything. So I thought like I'm homebound and I really need to do something. So I ordered those tapes from QVC. I ordered the kit, the paint and the brushes. And when I received it, like within like 45 minutes, I got the hang of it and I kept doing that. And this was in year 2000. And I even bought an easel. I'm not even sure why, because you don't really need an easel for that kind of painting. But I bought one, and so that continued. And then this was in 2000, and next year 2001, my husband started his MBA program in Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. So I moved here, and again I found another job. By that time I had become an independent consultant, and I was working for a firm here as a freelance consultant. And I was walking on one of the like very busy uh, streets of Pittsburgh, and there are shops and fancy restaurants and fancy stores on both the sides, and I'm just walking and I see this art gallery. And I have never been to an art gallery. This is 2001, and
Wow.
I don't know anything about like all those fancy art, big artists. Art galleries like that looked intimidating. And then I'm just passing by, and then on the window I see this probably 16 by 20 size painting. And I just looked at it and I'm like, I'm stunned. Like human beings do this? I didn't even know that human beings could paint like that. And it was just like, emotion, the energy, the spontaneity in that painting was like so jaw-dropping. I don't know what I was doing, because I was just standing there like staring at it, and this woman comes out, and she says, "Do you want to come inside?" And I'm feeling uncomfortable because I don't want her to think that I'm going to buy anything.
Sure, sure, sure.
I was just like browsing.
Yeah,
And she said, "No, no, no, come inside, come inside. I'm
yeah,
going to take
yeah,
you to the basement." And I'm like, "What? You want to
yeah,
take me to the basement?" And she takes me to this shady looking, like completely dark
yeah.
staircase. I'm falling. Like, I don't even care. And then she turns on the light, and she has this basement filled to the brim with paintings everywhere. And then she takes me to this one place where I have these two paintings that are bigger than me. They're like 5.5 feet tall.
Wow.
And I looked at it. I thought I'm going to start crying. It was just like something happened. Something like changed in me.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at every stroke and every like the shift in the color, the emotion, and even now I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that,
Thinking
because
about that moment. Yeah.
yeah, it was just like that.
Yeah. And
So
that changed your journey. That
yeah,
made
that
you.
that lady gave me those pamphlets, and like I don't know why, but she gave me little posters, and she said,
Yeah.
"You take it." And I don't know what she saw in me, but she gave me all that. I still have those.
Oh my
So I
God.
found out that that artist, he was Daniel Gerhardt. So that was my first exposure to like real art. Like, I don't want to call it real, like
Yeah. Yeah.
portraiture and figurative realism,
Yeah.
rather than realism,
Yeah.
realistic art.
Yeah.
So
So,
that was another incident in 2001.
so it was
And
portrait that made, I mean, you just seem to be drawn to portraits if
yeah,
I look
yeah,
at it.
I was just like it was like a magnet. It just
And
sucks me in. Yeah.
listening to you say the story, you just are passionate about everything. I can see that you feel the, emotions and the heart. So yeah, I'd love to know about that. You are really, your portraits are so varied and so different. And so, and there are photographs, right? And there are photographs and portraits. First of all, what motivates you to draw portraits? And the second thing is, how does a portrait differ from a photograph? And why should we still get portrait made in these days?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what was your first question? You asked another question before this.
Oh yeah. Oh, just that. What is it that
Oh,
draws you
what is the
to?
difference?
Yeah. One is, what is the difference, and what draws you
Oh,
to
what draws me in?
doing portraits?
So yeah, as I said, like I started this pretty late in life. I was already like well into my 30s when I first saw Daniel Gerhardt's painting. And then when I actually started painting, which was another, like I didn't start painting seriously up until 2013. But before that, I had to learn how to paint a little
Yeah.
bit. So I tried everything. I did still lives, I tried landscapes, I tried portraits, I tried variety of different things. Um, what I realized is when I paint portraits of faces, um, I can do it 20 times over. The painting that you have behind you,
Yeah.
that face, if you could like x-ray it, you will see that there are like at least 20 faces underneath that face.
Ah,
And I have infinite amount of patience. Like I don't lose patience. It does not matter. Even if I'm in pain, I don't feel pain. I do not lose patience, and I can do it over and over and over again till I get the exact emotion. Exactly, it has to satisfy me. I have to feel that at this point of time, with what I know, where I am in my journey, I could not have done more. I could not have done better. I can do that with portrait. When I do landscapes or still life, I lose patience far earlier. Like I lose patience, like I could do it like 2 times or 3 times, but then I'll like, okay, this is done. I have to move on. So that itself is a very good indication of like what you should do. uh, Something that gives you infinite amount of patience, something that helps you forget pain, which is tremendously powerful. There is just like no reason why you should not pursue that. So I just did that. Something absolutely beautiful about the face, absolutely fascinating. As I told you earlier, a little bit earlier, I looked at your face. I have been looking at your face, and I'm seeing, like, I already like visualize, like if I have the light like this and the angle like that. And there are certain faces that are just like they're waiting to be painted. And
Oh my God, I'm so
I,
honored. And maybe someday I will have that honor. It'll be quite an honor for
I
me.
would be honored. I would be honored to paint you.
So, Manjushree, but
So
you do need people to sit for you. Is that right? You cannot just paint from a photograph. And also, you're telling me that emotions can be portrayed on a two-dimensional portrait. Is that right?
well, if the viewer is feeling, like, all my paintings have a story, all my paintings have a narrative behind it, but I don't need to tell that narrative to the audience. If the audience is feeling something,
Sure.
if the audience is saying, and which happens all the time. I have this painting of a woman who's mopping the floor, and it was part of a juried show. And this man comes up to me, and he is one of those big 6 foot 5 inch meat and potato kind of guy who probably has never seen any Indian woman mopping the floor. And he comes up to me and he says, I could not take my eyes off of it. I could not take my eyes off of it. What better proof do you need that if two-dimensional surfaces can portray emotion or not? So there is my answer. Like, the
Yeah.
answer is, like, the proof is in the pudding. You don't need to go far. So
So I think you're answering this that a photograph just captures, that moment, but the portrait actually builds that story and brings that emotion in ways that are just beyond. I think it also brings the interpretation of the viewer itself into the picture. It's not just about what the picture is about. So would you say that?
photographs are also it can be they are work of art.
Yeah.
Paintings are also, of course, work of art. Ironically, a good photograph does not necessarily, almost always for me especially, does not translate into a good painting.
Ah,
And a good painting is actually very rarely made from a brilliantly taken photograph. They are actually completely different medium, completely different ways of expressing your story. In a painting, you have so much of yourself. Uh, the painting is a story that is told by the artist. Whereas a photograph is a moment captured in time as it was in reality. So I add, embellish, exaggerate, reduce, blur. I create my own, like, I want you to look like this, think like that. It sounds weird, but I'm completely directing that movie. Whereas photograph, you can do that,
yeah,
especially nowadays. A lot of people do that,
yeah.
but uh, you will spend like 1 hour, 2 hour, maybe 3 hours, 4 hours on a photograph. The painting that's behind you, I spent 3 months.
My goodness.
So like, in every single dot that you
Yeah,
see, it has been thoughtfully put on there by me. And then I decided on that do I need it? Is it adding to the story or taking away from the story? Am I capturing the essence? Is it strengthening what I want an audience to feel? Or is it, and so I also don't always think about the audience. It's basically, it's my interaction with my painting. It's a one-to-one relationship at that point of time. So I'm just thinking that, am I putting down what I want to see on the canvas? Is my vision there or not? So that's how I'm completely directing this
but do
story.
you do commissioned works too? Is that right, Manjushree?
Yes, I do commission work,
And
and
so I keep wondering about that. There is a what does that, how does the artist interact for a commissioned work? Where is your creativity? Where are the boundaries?
yeah, I'm very careful about the commission work. I'm also, um, thank God for all the experiences, many of which were very rough. I have reached a point in life where I have developed tremendous amount of clarity towards life and people and my boundaries. So I make it very clear in the beginning that I'm the artist and I do not need a proxy artist directing me from someplace else. I'll show you, I'll share the process with you at every point of time, at every stage. And you will have to trust me that, as I said, what I will give to you at this point of time, that was the best I could have done. I cannot do more. So if you cannot have that trust in me, then probably it's not a good idea, because I would not allow you to interfere in my artistic process. You cannot say, okay, today I wanted this red, but next day you decide, no, I wanted blue. It does not work like that. Especially in realism, it absolutely does not work like that. One change affects the entire canvas. So
That's
I
great.
make things very clear, and it has to be a mutually like a pleasant
Acceptable. Yeah.
experience.
So you mentioned your spirituality or your transformations in our conversations before, and you said just like you're a self-taught artist, you're also a self-taught meditator. Would you like to describe a little bit of the spiritual journey and how it has affected you as an artist?
Okay. Um, I was working in the corporate world when I had my child, and even before that, I had some health issues. A lot of the work that I was doing was very stressful, and uh, one thing that I think all sensitive people, creative sensitive people need to understand is we do need a creative outlet, even we are in the corporate world. Otherwise, something is not in balance, off balance. So I got extremely sick after I had my child. A lot of complications, hospital infections. I was bedridden. Uh, Nothing got diagnosed. So for years and years, I was in bed, and I went back to work. I was bleeding internally. My daughter was in a mess because I could not take care of her properly. And then one fine day, at the peak, at the pinnacle of my career, when I was just like really doing well, internally, I was completely shattered. And I just went in and I said, this is it. I'm not coming back tomorrow. Of course, they made me come back for 2 more weeks, but I gave in the resignation the next day itself. So after that, I was just in bed. I was just in bed with my like, and I didn't even put my daughter to preschool or anything, and we were just at home. And as I told you about the experience about looking at that painting at the art gallery a little bit earlier, Daniel Gerhardt's,
Yeah,
now
yeah.
somebody gave me a video, uh, and that was by Daniel Gerhardt's. So, and this is a 6 hour long instruction video that he is teaching how to paint. And then another person gave me a video about, like, it's one of those self-help videos about centering yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
So what I did is, on one hand, I started painting alongside Daniel Gerhardt's video. And on the other hand, I put my headphones and I constantly listened to that self-help. It's a Silva method, Jose Silva.
Yeah.
And of course, after that, there were so many, but it was one of the earlier one. I started listening to that. And then I just learned so much about brainwaves, alpha, theta, delta, how the brainwaves function, what are the frequencies associated with earth, the frequencies associated with the sound om. I
Wow.
just went in deeper and deeper. I started listening to Vedanta and Upanishads and their interpretation. And of course, you listen and you listen and you listen, and you're trying to brainwash, you're trying to walk away from reality, which is extremely, like, I'm constantly in pain. So either I'm painting or I'm listening. Uh, but then something else happened, and it was extremely like nerve-wracking for me. It became just like emotionally unbearable.
Mhm.
So then I decided, okay, it's like, again, one of those very specific incidents that tonight I'm going to start meditating. and and I was already on antidepressants, and I was on sleeping pills, and we talk about so much about mental health right now, and I know that when you are in such deep depression as I was, and many people around us are, it is incredibly difficult. You cannot ask for help. You cannot even get up to go to the bathroom. Forget about ask for help. So people who offer help, like every day I see somebody posting on Facebook, if you
Yeah,
need to talk to me, I'm
yeah,
there. It does not work like that. A person in depression is like a newborn. If
yeah.
you offer to help that person, make sure you're like a mother to a newborn. You should offer that help 24/7 without judgment. And if you cannot offer that help, do not even go near that person, because you could do more harm than help.
Interesting,
So,
interesting. Wow.
in spite of being in that deep dungeon, when I was listening to all that Jose Silva and all that, I realized I just need to just start doing something. And I said, I'm just going to keep doing Om for the next 5 hours till I
Wow.
figure out something about myself, till I figure out, like, I have a choice and I can feel better. So then I started doing that, and I did that for like one week. then 1 month, then 1 year, then 4 year, and I'm still doing it. Now,
Look
I
at,
don't do it as intensely as then, but uh, you train your brain,
yeah,
so you
yeah,
don't need to do it as intensely.
right.
So either I'm painting or I'm cooking, but like it's always there. It's that the process of active meditation as well as passive meditation is there.
So congratulations. I mean, what you're describing and that you came out of it, from depression, and here you are, this joyous person that we see.
Thank
So
you so much.
really, to say to the world that, really there's hope and there's a process, and really amazing. I'm so honored, to meet you and hear that story. So,
Yeah,
um,
can I say here one thing?
yeah,
Like,
sure.
I know that a lot of us are suffering, and I've been through all of that, doctors, meditation, this, that. If there is one thing that can fundamentally, at a cellular level, change you for the better, it's meditation. So I wish people gave it a shot.
That's awesome. I think that's why I always feel that, like in India, in the ancient times, right? First thing you learned was yoga and meditation before you learn to read and write
Yes,
in the Gurukulam. And
yes,
I think that's a good thing to
yes,
do. So, and
yes.
actually, I have to say that Ekal, in our schools, we work on Panchamukhi Shiksha, and yoga, pranayam is very much part of what we teach, and art is part of what we teach as well. So, no,
Yes,
this is really fantastic. So I would like to know that, you have been so kind as to give your time to become an Indie Art Ambassador. I know you're going to offer a workshop as well for that.
yes, I am.
So could you tell us what motivated you to join Indie Art, and, be part of this Ekal organization that is bringing education to 100,000 remote rural villages, teaching 2.8 million children every day? What motivated you to join, and what can people expect in your workshop?
Again, it's just crazy how life works. Again, like it was not me, but again, life just came knocking at my door. I'm in the kitchen cooking, and I have this video in front of me where I'm listening to this person who's talking about how to take your art to the next level. You were already painting, and how can you take it to the next level? And she's explaining that you're painting because you're passionate about it, and you should link it to something else that you're extremely passionate about.
Right, right.
And that's the way to get to the next level. That's the way to connect with the world. And I'm just listening to her, and I'm thinking that what am I passionate about, else am I passionate about? And I had a very rough childhood, and as you heard, that I was extremely unwell when my daughter was born. And so unfortunately she doesn't remember, but it was a very tough time for her also. So I really connect with children who are um, in difficult situations, but also I generally connect, like I really connect with children. And like one day I drew like what is the theme of my life, and at the core was consciousness, spirituality, and there was the outer circle, which was my daughter and the children of the world. And then the circle outside of that was art. So this is like my theme of life. And I'm thinking about this, and Mridula Satyamurthy, who is one of the Ekal
Yeah,
ambassadors,
yeah.
she sends me a message, Manjushree, are you interested in becoming part of that? And I'm like, okay.
The
I
universe conspires. Wow,
yeah,
that's really
exactly.
great. So,
Yeah,
what are you
next day
going
I
to
spoke
offer?
to Jarna.
Yeah, what are you going to do in our Indian workshop? So kind of you to do a workshop.
Yeah, so I will attempt to do a portrait. I know that it is not possible to start and finish a portrait in 1 hour, but I will approach it the exact same way I approach all my workshops and my classes, where I give the fundamentals of doing a realistic portrait. Uh, a fundamental that if you wanted to stretch and build, you could just build on that. So that's what I'll do.
So I'm going to attend, and hopefully maybe I think I'm very visual art impaired. I'm a dancer, but I'm a very visual art impaired, I think. So maybe I will try to put a portrait, because I've been just fascinated by your portraits, and, to see the emotions come out means a lot to me as a dancer. And I see that in your art as well. So I think there's a lot of synergy there. So what advice do you have for young people who might take on art as a career, or at least as a serious amateur thing? I know that you trained in both the science and the arts, I mean, art was natural to you.
Yeah, science, business, and then now I'm in
So yeah, I
artwork.
mean, most Indians tell their kids do science, and so did you find any value in that, in doing science and marketing and all of that? And what advice to our artists?
I cannot uh, emphasize how important science has been to me, how important, like even something as like I just built my website, and especially now when technology, everything we're doing is through technology, and I see a lot of artists struggle. As a like Indian artists are better because they almost always have some kind of science background, but I see a lot of my American friends, they are constantly struggling. Their websites don't look up to par, they are not able to attend or schedule all these
Sure.
online classes, and generally they are struggling a lot. So I cannot emphasize, like there was a time when I thought, no, enough of science and engineering, and but
Right.
now I realize that it is absolutely imperative.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to pursue art early on, there are two things that I would suggest. First of all, know the truth. Just loving something is not important enough. It is also important to see how good you are.
Mm,
So take classes, practice, and see how good you are. Enter competitions. Start very early on. That's the second advice.
mhm.
Start very early on and participate. Get serious about it. One thing I can tell you, that the competition in the field of arts as a visual artist, it's so much tougher than in the science.
Sure.
In science, if you are like 70% there, you'll still earn a very decent livelihood.
Right.
In the arts, you have to really up the game,
Yeah.
because what does it fulfill? Like it fulfills the higher, like it's like spirituality and all. It fulfills our higher goals. It's a luxury good,
Right.
so it's not a product for everybody.
Right.
So you have to be really, really good to become a successful artist. So it's not enough to just love and be passionate. You have to put in the hard work, and you have to figure out the truth, that am I really that good?
Good. Yeah. And I think that is great that you're bringing up the point about the competition. It kind of gets you to understand your level. And I think so perhaps that's a good plug to say, hey, everybody should participate in indie art so that you can
Yes, yes.
understand where you stand, whether you're an adult or a child. And perhaps there is that little spark in you and you have the talent. And when, passion and talent comes together, I think what I'm hearing is, and that combined
Yeah.
with hard work, there is no stopping you. Would you say?
But after that, you have to let go, because if you remain tight about it, then it doesn't work. After you've put in the hard work, the passion, the practice, then it's time to just let go and just let it out. And that's when the magic happens.
Wow, magic. That's exactly a good way to conclude this interview, I think, because what I am seeing in you, there's a lot of magic in you. And the
Thank you.
portraits that you are creating are surely magical. I mean, I cannot take my eyes off them. So, Manjushree, thank you so much for taking
Thank
the
you so
time.
much.
And it's an honor. And who knows, if I'm so honored, I might be in your studio as one of your portraits. So,
Yes.
God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was an honor talking to you. I had a wonderful time.
Oh, thank you.